Call 219 here, and yes, you're getting another boring hunting video. Hopefully, as we get through the season, it gets more exciting. I get really good video, and then, it'll all pay off in the end. We're not in a normal spot again because I'm out here shooting. I'm dialing in a rifle because I got good news, but that's for another video. So now you got to stick with the boring hunting video. So we all know about spot number one, hunting spot one. That spot, there's a video in the channel what I've been trying to do, and I've been trying to make it a little bit more friendly to bucks. Unfortunately, the nanny does, the yearlings, and the fawns have taken over that spot, so I'm gonna have to thin them out. I've got no choice at this point, and I'll throw some pictures up here and show you why. Because there's a lot of nanny does and there's a lot of babies that are running around there. And last year when I planted a food plot, the nanny does and the yearlings and the fawns destroyed it. I mean, they ate it down to the root. I looked back there the last time I was there, a little bit grew back, but nothing have I planted. I planted a good portion there, but none of it really survived, and it's supposed to grow out throughout the year. But when you get so many of these types of deer in there, they will decimate the spot and they'll move on to the next spot to go eat. Hopefully, me, giving some areas of cover, putting some stuff in there that bucks really like, will keep them on that property, maybe draw some off that we've never seen before off other people's property. As you see this picture here, this is Big Ben. This is another reason why I really would like access to spot number one. Big Ben was named by Sean the researcher's girlfriend, and I called to try and gain access to that property because I want to change the camera angle because the picture's not really good. I really want to see this deer head on or a good side shot. I have a pretty good idea where he's coming and going from, so I have to move that camera so it's not that close, and I can move it back and I can get a real good shot of this deer, and I can really make up my mind whether I'm either going to take this deer or I'm going to pass on him if he stays in the area. But there's a lot to be desired there because bucks can travel a long ways to find their ladies and their bedding areas. So it's kind of up in the air, especially when you don't have access to it all the time, and you can really prep that area for those deer to stay there and make that place a home. So, I got to get a camera in there some way or somehow to really get a good angle of this deer. So, hunting spot number one is a handshake. Those are really dicey situations when you're hunting, other people's property. It's not in writing, nothing like that. It's just based on my performance and a handshake that I'll split whatever I harvest. So those are kind of wavy in itself. Hopefully I can get back there because I want to snatch another camera out of there as well and put it in a different spot. And that's hunting spot number two. Hunting spot number two, it's another very, very small parcel of land, but it's owned by family. So coming and going isn't going to be, disturbing other people, living, so on and so forth. I can go over there whenever I need to. And I pulled the camera, since I couldn't go to the first spot, I went and pulled the camera footage from the second spot. And I'm going to tell you right now, some certain people sent me some pictures of some deer running on their land, and it's really close to where that spot is. I'm going to tell you right now, trail cameras are a huge asset to a hunter, especially if you're a new hunter. Not only will it give you a good gauge on the time and date these deer are coming and going, you can really identify these deer. I remember there were all the years that I lived at the other spot, I could tell who was who. I could tell who this deer was. I could tell who that deer was because they were so frequent in their travels and they're hanging out at that hunting spot that I passed on some deer because I knew who they were. I let them grow up, so on and so forth. But it was kind of dicey for bucks. They were coming at all random times. I'm telling you, waking up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning and getting in a blind at -15 or -10 with a really harsh conditions, that's pretty intense, especially waiting for legal shooting time. So, where I used to live, that was pretty tough. So hunting spot number 2, again, is butted up to an ag field. Not only an ag field, but a field a family member owns, which has more food for them. I don't know about you if you've ever watched deer. Deer can sit into an ag field all night. They can sit there and fill their belly, go back and sleep all day, especially if it's hot, and then get up, when the weather cools down and go out and feed again. This is what these deer are doing. They're gearing up for the winter time. Indiana weather, here up in the north, it gets pretty harsh. So that's what they're doing. They're bulking up. They're ready to go. So I'm going to have to fight that concept again, with hunting deer on ag fields is hard. What's even harder is other hunters. I'm hunting and competing against other hunters to harvest these animals. But again, trail cameras, so we don't get off subject, are a great tool to use as a hunter. The one thing that I really despise from trail cameras is when they stick their logo, when you pull the card and they show you their logo in the corners or up at the top. I like it when it's a straight bar at the bottom. Especially if you kind of angle your camera, it doesn't take up that much spot. Unfortunately, this camera has a logo, boom, right there in the corner, and it's big. This picture is a little grainy. It's a little grainy and doesn't help that the company thought to put the logo there as it took pictures. This guy, this is a big deer. This is a pretty good sized deer, and which is really funny. His antlers match up with the logo that camera, that company, that camera is from. This is a good deer. This is going to really give me a good determination. If this deer stays in the area, again, bucks will travel. They'll go where they need to go to find food, water, and place to rest their head, and especially their girlfriends. They'll have to go wherever. Now, driving to this spot, I have seen bucks in a field adjacent across the way. Whether this is one of them or not, I don't know, because you just can't stop on the side of the road in this part of town. It's just, there's nowhere to stop, and getting out, you don't want to spook the animals. You just drive by and casually take pictures. But I have seen bucks in this other field. I wonder if they're coming from that field and they're moving in there because in the back of their house there is a bean field. And if you know deer love these beans. They really do. So this is going to really make a good determination. If this deer sticks around, I won't mess with Big Ben, and I'll try and let him grow. Now again, I'm competing with other hunters, and some hunters are getting younger. This would be a great buck. Big Ben, he would be a great buck for somebody on their first time hunting, or their second time where they didn't get a buck last year, but they got a doe or something, and this is their first buck. That's a good deer for that, in my opinion. This deer, I wouldn't be concerned with that with hunting spot number 1. I would focus on hunting spot number 2. But again, hunting spot number 2 is kind of tricky because there's a lot of people. And then there's a road, and deer can get hit. I saw a lot of deer get hit last year. I just seen one today driving home from work. A small yearling was clipped in on the side of the road dead. So that could happen, and this place is really close to access to a road. So if he's coming from that ag field across the way there, he's crossing that road, and that's a little shaky, because you don't want to see these bucks get hurt, and you don't want to see anybody driving get hurt. You want these things to go around, and you have the opportunity. So now I'm thinking about buying another camera some way or somehow, wherever my money's going to come from, and putting another camera at a different angle, because I didn't get a good angle at that one. So I might turn that camera to that spot there to kind of get rid of the logo, first of all, and get a better gauge on how big this deer is, the body size of this deer. Yes, it's got great antlers, don't get me wrong, but I want to see how big this deer is. If it's going to be a scrawny deer, even though, it has a nice antler. Again, I'm not a person that hunts for antlers. I'm a person that hunts for meat. See, the basis that I have for these two spots is spot number one, hunting spot one, is to shoot a buck. You know, if I take a doe early in the season, or maybe two does, that's the spot where I'm going to shoot a buck. But if this buck and other bucks are going to roam around in hunting spot number two, I'm going to change my attention to that spot. Wherever I can see a good correlation of bucks, that's the spot I'm going to hunt at that time that I want to fill my buck tag. And hunting spot number one is a great opportunity to do that, as seen last year. So there's a lot of decisions still to be made. That's why they're boring hunting videos and we haven't gotten to the excitement yet. So I'll give you one more shot at this picture. Again, it's really grainy, but it looks like a pretty good sized deer. And again, some pictures that were forwarded to me, they said that there was two. The one they took a picture of, and then another one that is in that area. So we'll have to wait and see what turns up on hunting spot number two. And even if I have to take another camera from hunting spot one to put it in two, I'm willing to do that and roll the dice to see what goes on. Where's this buck going? What's his patterns? What time is going? Because at that time it was late at night. It was late at night where he was crossing and he was heading towards the road. Again, don't really quite want him to go towards the road, but he's going to go where he's going to go, especially if he's got bedding areas somewhere in those fields adjacent. And there's a lot of parts of woods over there too. That's probably where he's laying and where he's hanging out. So hopefully we can get a good gauge, not only on Big Ben, but we can get a gauge on this deer. Now, I haven't named this deer yet because I don't see quite enough of them, but I'm pretty sure we'll find a good name for this deer. If you can really see the picture and you want to name them, go ahead and throw a name down there, and then we'll run with that for the season. But that right now is a good focus point. It's good. It gets me excited. You start getting buck fever. So we'll have to see what hunting spot two materializes into as we get closer to the season. Now, again, I am leaving on a trip, so I'm going to miss the start of reduction zone. I'm going to miss the first little portion of deer season until we get closer to October 1st. Again, I got to check some mapping too, because I'm not sure if hunting spot 2 falls into reduction zone. And if that happens, it's game on. It's game on, and we might get really lucky because they have changed some mapping of where reduction zones are now. Always check your book. Always call the DNR. Always make sure that you're doing things legal. So that's the gist of this video. Yes, it's boring, but hopefully it gets more exciting as we get into it. And plus, the next video, I'm really excited for that one. So stay tuned. We got a lot to do here on the channel. I'd like to thank my new subscribers, just the people that zip through. I greatly appreciate it. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Do that for me. It really helps with the algorithms. And like always, we'll catch you on the next one.